Okay, so one of the biggest complaints that a lot of people had about the Kove 800 was the on-off feeling for the throttle, especially when you're at lower RPMs or lower gears. The models that came here to the US are supposed to have a newer updated ECU programming that's supposed to make it a little bit more of a flat linear curve. I still seem to have a little bit of an issue with it. So a lot of people, they will add the titanium exhaust and ECU update and then do a new mapping of the ECU. Right now the titanium exhausts and ECUs seem to be sold out, from Uncle Wang's at least. So someone on the adventure forums mentioned that they had installed this G2 Throttle Tamer, and what this is just a new throttle section that has a different profile for the lobes where the throttle cables connect, and it's supposed to flatten out some of the on-off feeling of the throttle. So we're going to try to install this today, see if it makes any difference. The model that he said he installed was this one. It was a part number 30-4F-HYK for the CRF 300. It looks like it was also fits the Yamaha. So we're going to give this a shot, try to install it, see if it works, see if it makes any kind of a difference. So in order to get started with this, what we're going to have to do is disassemble this throttle assembly. So to get started, there's a screw right here on the top that we're going to need to remove. We're going to have to remove this Torx here, a T25 bolt that holds that end cap on, and then down below there's another Phillips head screw here. So we're going to start with those, and then once I get this assembly apart, I'll show you the next steps. I forgot to mention on one of the first screws, there is one down here, up between these cables, kind of up in this area. It's hard to see on the camera, but it's up there, so we have to remove that one as well. Okay, now that we have the kill switch assembly loosened, there is one Phillips head screw right here that holds the assembly on. It's the last one we have to take off. And then also there is on your throttle cable, there's a rubber boot right here. It's gonna be the throttle cable that's kind of like the top one that comes closest to you. That is gonna have an adjustment underneath of it that is going to adjust your throttle slack. So we're gonna wanna slide this boot back. And then to take the throttle cable out, there's actually two cables. There's going to be the top one and the bottom one. So what I like to use is just a little tool with like a little hook on it, which allows me to kind of get underneath of the cable as I'm twisting to give it some slack, and then I can pop that out and pop out both throttle cables. Alright, we now have the two throttle cables out, and you'll notice the assembly just slides right off. Okay, now we have the new G2 Throttle Tamer. We're going to go ahead and slide that onto the bars. I'm going to get the throttle cables hooked up and then get everything fit to see where we're going to mount the final. Alright, now I have the cables on. We're going to go ahead and install everything in reverse, put their screw through here, mount that back up, and put all of the entire assembly back together. All right, we're all installed now. I'm going to put this little bracket back on. The last thing you'll want to do is adjust your throttle tension cable right here to give you a little slack in your throttle play. That's just a matter of your own preference on how much slack you want before the throttle initiates.
Okay, so initial riding impressions. For me, it made a really big difference at the lower RPMs. Around 4,000 RPM, you still do get a little bit of the on-off feeling, but at the lower RPMs, it's really made the bike much more usable. In the future, I'd still like to get some ECU tuning to flatten out the entire torque curve, but overall for the price, I think I paid around $79 for this one. I'm really happy with the results. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested in picking one up.
Okay, now that we have the installation finished, one thing you're going to notice is that you're not going to be able to get the stock grips off of the other throttle tube. So I decided to go ahead and get some new grips. I went with these. These are the Pro Grip 717s, I believe they were. Yeah, 717s. These are, a couple websites said they were 120 millimeters, maybe to 125 millimeters, but that's the ones you're going to need, at least 120 millimeters to fit on the stock grip. So we're going to install these now and see how they feel. Okay, there we go, it's installed. As you saw, I used that method of putting an air compressor in there. I kind of squeezed down a little bit to create a seal, and then it just kind of slid on. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. The thing I like about the 717s from Pro Grip is they do already have an open end, so you don't have to worry about cutting the end off of your grips. They have a nice feel to them. They're grippy. They have like a dual layer composition, which is nice. Feels good on the hands, so I think these will work. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested in checking them out.